everyone we know seems like... Wait, Bethany, do you like this movie?
Are we talking about El Dorado?
Yeah.
Is that a question? Like, who likes that movie?
Everyone else, literally everyone else we know.
Apparently a lot of people have already, like, because we've mentioned El Dorado before on the show.
The 4 other people who listen to this podcast, being Francisco, Jeremy, Juan, and my wife, have all been like, yeah, I like that movie. Why do you guys bash on it so much? And then we're just like, well, just wait. Here it comes. We're about to lose all our audience.
Welcome to the Why Do I Talk to You podcast.
The definitive episode. Are you ready? Are you ready for what is to come?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm over here, Saul Starship 4.
Man, how I wish I wasn't, but here I am, Dave Gamer Dave Staple.
Oh my goodness. We, out of the many fans that we have, I mean, Dave, we just have like millions of hits every week, right?
Millions.
It seems that a good 999,000 of you really have taken slight umbrage to whenever we've made fun of the movie we're about to talk to, which is on the title card, The Road to El Dorado.
I'm sorry, you people.
You people.
You have been deceived. The deceiver has taken hold of you, and we are here to set you free from Elton John's devilry.
So Dave and I just watched this again. We just watched the movie again.
We gave it a fair shake.
We really did.
All right?
We really did. I mean, we really did. We weren't intentionally trying to find bad things to like make fun of in the movie. They just happened.
They do.
So... okay, so in order to make sure that we keep this nice and fair, maybe a little bit on the structured side, I don't know. Let's try to talk a little bit about some of the good things.
The good things. Well, yeah.
First of all, let's talk about some of the key players in this that we're gonna be talking about.
There's
we have
blue shirt. And there's red shirt.
We have Tulio and Julio.
Red shirt is dumb. Blue shirt is smart. Do you like blue shirts or red shirts?
So Tulio and Julio.
Wait, no. Maybe we should actually, in case people have forgotten. I can't imagine people remember that.
Oh no, it's Tulio Miguel. Okay,
yeah,
no.
This is a real thing, people.
I really like it takes all within me not to say Tulio and Julio. Like
Yeah.
I might really say that while like I might actually anyway, so
It's way catchier. Wouldn't that have been funnier if that was their actual name? You know? Like, it's ridiculous, but we'd remember. We would remember that.
Miguel and Miguel or something.
Something dumb like that. Yeah, I don't know. This movie's so ridiculous. Like, just play it up, man.
Okay. So we have those. Blue shirt is American, played by Kevin Kline, and red shirt is British, played by Kenneth Branagh.
In case we ever do get their names correct, blue shirt is Tulio and red shirt is Miguel.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. Yes, that is correct.
Sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Because I am really not sure about that.
Well, we'll do our best. I'm pretty positive. I'm pretty positive.
Okay.
All right.
I'm not even being.
And if we're wrong the
like...
whole episode, well, then it's just even funnier.
Yeah. Other key players will be mentioned will probably be Elton John, the primary songwriter, Tim Rice, the lyrics writer, and Hans Zimmer, the primary score writer. Interesting enough, the same exact musical team behind Lion King.
Yeah.
Oh man,
it's crazy.
Okay, so we're talking about the good, right?
Yeah,
the good.
We're trying.
Nice. Okay. So the animation for about 75% of the movie is pretty good.
Yeah, I generally limit it to, if you're just watching the two main characters, you can tell that's where all their focus and animation went, because they're usually good. Tulio in particular, the one thing about this movie that I find enjoyable is Tulio. I think he is a fun character to watch. His expressions tend to be sort of subtle, but like very well expressed, both in animation and like in voice. His facial expressions are fun, and his design is memorable. He's very pointy and like angular, and he's very lanky. Like his fingers are very long when he makes all these like expressions with his hands. He's fun, and he has some decent dialogue. Like it's. You can tell who his character is supposed to be, right? He's the smart guy, the con guy. Like
I can give you that.
He's fine. He's okay. Miguel is just whatever. He's the dumb one, right? Who's like always super hopeful. Like that's sort of the thing they try to play up is like he's the dumb one who's really hopeful, and Tulio is the smart one who's always very skeptical because he's a con man. He assumes everybody's a con man kind of type thing. And so it's okay, but like Miguel never really has anything behind him. He's just there to foil Tulio, which if it was supposed to just be Tulio, like just about him, like okay, but it's supposed to be about both of them equally. And Miguel is just kind of a non-character. Well, there's all the good stuff.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think. I'm
like
really okay. Oh, no. Actually,
there's some pretty scenery.
The villain. I like the villain.
He's actually animated pretty well.
I can't even say his name.
No, I'm not even gonna try.
Witch Doctor
McGee.
Witch Doctor McGee. Witch Doctor McGoo. I actually like. Upon watching this again, I mean, like, I'm being very fair here. I've seen this movie upwards of like 4 times, honestly. Like I think I saw it in theaters when it came out. It explains everything. And like I remember we saw it once like on the tour bus, right?
Yeah, that's where I first saw it. That was the first time I saw it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't know this movie existed. When
really?
everyone was like, I saw this movie in theaters, I'm like, I don't remember this movie being anywhere.
Really?
Yeah.
This was the follow-up to Prince of Egypt, so it kind of had some hype behind it.
Okay.
And also,
I was gonna ask about that at some point because it seems like all our fans, like they all heard it like of it when it was coming out, right? And that's part of why they love it. Cause like, yeah, I remember when that came out, and I'm just like, I don't remember this at all. I guess my parents really did love me. They protected me from this.
but Prince of Egypt like was came before this. It was like their second like major foray into trying to like compete with the Renaissance.
Yeah.
And Prince of Egypt, I mean, we got nothing bad to say about that, do we?
No, I don't. Not that I can think of.
No,
like maybe I prefer the Disney movies, like animation or whatever. But that's not to say Prince of Egypt is bad.
Right.
Like, it's just like sort of subjective stuff.
Right. Okay, so backtracking a little bit, the villain of El Dorado, Witch Doctor McGee, I like him. I like his development too, like how like in the beginning he's, you know, I mean, I hate to use this word, but he's like a fundamentalist, right, with like their religion, that like he's following it to like the letter of the law to its like most like, you know, harshest degree, right? Like and like in the beginning he's totally in on it, like, well, he's like totally believing it too, right? Like,
but he does at the end of the movie too, because at the end he's leading these other dudes to El Dorado because he's like, oh, these are the gods. I found them. Like he never stops believing in it. He just stops believing that the main characters are what he was waiting for.
Yeah, and that's okay. Like
that's
in
not
my opinion.
Development. It's just
okay, not like personal. I mean, enough of development for the villain to like now like he is the villain. You know what I mean? When you first see him, you might think like, okay, so this guy's kind of Lysander Rothy. Like,
he's obviously the villain.
Yeah, but like in the beginning, he's not exactly that way. You're just sort of like, okay, he's on their side, I guess. Probably not for long.
I disagree.
But...
It's just like because he immediately, obviously, wants to just usurp the chief. Like they just keep giving each other these glances, and it's obvious this is all part of some like power struggle. And like, okay, the priest like really believes it, but it's just awkward too because it feels like he's constantly putting them in positions to like set them up to fail, right? Like with the ball game, but like, you know, he's not trying to, but sometimes he gives these smiles like he is, and it is just weird.
I will give you that stuff is just sort of weird. Yeah. But like I never thought the power struggle was like between him and the chief. I always just thought he was like,
he kept telling them, smite the chief. Smite him.
I just figured he was like, I'm gonna have favor with the gods, like, and that's it, and just like sort of leave everybody here on Earth behind, like not specifically to take over El Dorado. That's what I got.
Yes, maybe. I mean, he's one of the better-ish parts of this movie. I'm not disagreeing. Like, he's fun to cheer against, I guess. He's not even that fun to cheer against, but he's like, you know, he's evil. He does evil stuff. He's fine.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
There's
He's animated pretty well too. He's pretty
Yeah.
expressive. They do a pretty good job with him.
yeah.
So whatever his name was.
I'm trying to whatever his name is, something Genghis Khan.
Yeah, it was something Khan. I don't remember.
Whatever. Okay, so I am legitimately trying to think of other things that I liked from this movie, and I mean if I'm gonna go ahead and start, there was a reason why I said animation about 75% of the time.
That might be a little generous, but
Oh boy, there is a gross amount of bad, like bizarre CG.
bad CGI. Like you come from this from Tarzan. So this came out the year after Tarzan, I think.
It did, yeah.
So you would expect something similar, but the CG is not.
It's bizarre.
It's jarring.
Like, it's bad, yes, but it's like bad in a weird way. It almost looks like they like the first time you really see it, or the first time I noticed it at least, was
was it the barrels?
yes, when they get hidden when they like hide in some water barrels, and then but it was in like a cargo netting, and it like goes onto
the
a ship.
netting.
The netting looked like it was trying to look realistic or something.
It was really weird. I don't know how to
The
describe
way
it.
that the way that the quality was, like, it looked like it was almost like digitized in from like real netting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like rotoscoped in for some weird reason in animation. Like it's like Dave said, it's jarring.
Yeah.
And the worst part is that's not the only time that happens.
No.
Like the barrels themselves are also like that.
They're really weird.
The water animation when they're like on the sea is sometimes
okay. Yeah,
because sometimes it's hand drawn and then sometimes it's computer, and it doesn't even look like it's trying to look like each other. Like,
no. I don't know why they jump back and forth. Like if you were just consistent with one, even if you were consistent with the bad, I think that would still be better than this, because it just draws your attention to how bad it is after you see like the decent hand drawn animation. Like the hand drawn water isn't like a marvel of modern engineering, but it's like fine. It's not offensive. Like,
yeah, I mean, you're just sort of like, oh, it's hand drawn water.
Yeah,
I bet
whatever.
that's really hard to animate.
Yeah, and you're like, all right, respect, and then it's like, oh, what is that? What happened to the ocean? Oh gosh, no, what has happened?
Where else is it just like absolutely offensive?
The gold on the boat.
Oh,
near the very
yeah,
end.
and
It's just like oh, let's use some reflection animation CG, and it's like my eyes.
Oh,
Like, please.
Well, it's
Get
almost
it
like
off.
it's almost like their first pass was like reflection animation.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, that's too much. We got to smear some Vaseline all over this. And so it just looks blurry and non-textured. Like, it's just bad.
Yeah.
And like, I understand, like, maybe they didn't want to hand draw every single one of those generic looking cups and plates. Why do they have that many cups and plates anyways? What were they doing with all of that? Like, okay, that's beside the point still. There are other CG elements in there, like, you know, the quote unquote final boss, which is like the Avatar Jaguar,
Yeah.
the Avaguar, the Jagatar, whatever we want to call it.
The Megazord. Jaguar.
Like that was completely CG too, but like in
wasn't
1991, the Cave of Wonders was CG also.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
and to be honest, they don't look all that different, and it's almost a decade apart. Ugh. It does take you away a little bit, especially when the rest of it, when it's like 2D, is good. It's fine. It's vibrant at times. Like, it's colorful, especially when you get into El Dorado.
It is
like,
very cool. Even on the island, like through the jungle.
Yeah.
It's good. It's fine.
Yeah.
It looks nice.
but and then when you get the really gross CG in there, it just stands out.
Yeah, it's rough. So I have a question. I don't know if you know the answer. How much CG did they use in Prince of Egypt?
Oh, I don't know.
I would be curious to go back and watch. I feel like they used it in a few parts, but I don't remember hating it.
I think they definitely do use it in a few parts, and I bet it looks about as well as it does in El Dorado. But
how far were they apart? 4 years?
no,
5?
not that far.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. We'd have to look it up, I guess.
Yeah, well, minor point, but
That's
I'm trying to figure out if there's any excuse.
yeah.
Like, you know.
Well, I mean, we look at how it was used in Tarzan, and like it was used in Tarzan for sure.
Compared to this, Tarzan looked like a masterpiece.
Oh, yeah.
And there were some parts where it didn't look great. Like it wasn't fully like
In Tarzan.
yeah, it wasn't fully integrated well, but it took you out of it much rarely and not as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna save the music for later. What other things? Like some really like stupid unnecessary things, like the stupid armadillo. Like we shouldn't be like mad about. Okay, so like this first happened when Dave and I called up this movie on Netflix.
We
Right?
realized there was more than blue shirt and red shirt on the cover.
There
We're
was
like, "Who
there
are
was
these?"
Dog Horse, which I totally forgot was for some reason a character.
I remembered that one.
I did not remember Dog Horse.
I remembered him. I didn't remember what he did, but I remember that he was in the movie, right? I didn't remember what part he played.
Sure.
He's around.
Not even the girl, not even Hun Baby is like
Yeah,
is
she
in.
didn't even make it on the cover.
No, but you know who did make it on the cover? The stupid nameless armadillo.
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 who doesn't even, he just shows up. Like from the point they land and like the montage of them getting to El Dorado, he just kind of shows up, and then like every once in a while, in the middle of like him not being relevant at all, like from then to the end of the movie, they will randomly cut to a scene just focused on the armadillo doing something.
Yeah, he's like drinking water.
Drinking from a cup. Or like floating down the river. And it's just there to focus on him, and you're like, who, what, why? What are you? And then he's there for one scene where he is the ball in the ball game that helps them cheat, because he's a magic armadillo who can control his momentum while rolled up and while being chucked all over creation. And you couldn't have it. You couldn't have it where you just found an armadillo at the opportune moment. No, you had to set it up. Did you see the setup, guys? That's what makes this joke. And if you can't appreciate it, I don't know what movie you're watching.
There isn't even like any scenes where like the armadillo's like bouncing around as if he's like a
No.
ball or anything like that.
No.
Just all of a sudden, hey, look what this thing can do.
That's it. That's the whole reason he's in the movie.
And he is with them till
That-
the very end.
Does he go with them? I don't even remember. Does he
No,
go with them on the boat?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I was really done by that point, but I know that he was there in the final scenes.
Well, as like the gag at the end of the intro to the credits, I guess, quote unquote.
Yes,
gag.
I forgot about that too. We were just like, what is up with that?
He just violently murders this butterfly and eats it, and it's just like, oh, okay, bye, welcome to El Dorado. See you later.
Like this character is supposed to be for the kids or something, and so that's supposed to be like, you know, like that. Oh. Very pointless, and it's like
The horse isn't that funny.
The
either,
horse
in case
isn't
you're
that
wondering.
funny.
No.
The horse entangled is like way better.
Yeah, I mean, you could. I guess you could. We made this joke where it's like, oh, it's Maximus. Like, he even had like the little balls, his hair wrapped up in those little balls.
Yeah,
at the beginning of the
yeah,
movie. But I
those-
think that's just a thing for
El
that
Maximo.
time period. El Maximo. But like, you know, the horse dog character is just kind of a trope in animated movies anyway. Like that was in. I think there was one in Pocahontas. There was definitely one in Hunchback. Like, they're just around. It's just like whatever.
There wasn't one in Pocahontas.
No, you
There
didn't have one.
kinda was one in Mulan.
Yes, that's true. There was one in Mulan.
But I know there's more than just Maximus and.
Hercules, Pegasus
Oh yeah,
was a
yeah.
winged dog horse.
That totally counts. Yeah,
Yeah.
that totally counts.
definitely.
And then there's Chell.
Yay.
And then there's Chell. Like
It's real. She's really awkward.
it's
She's just uncomfortable.
they don't like. Why does she want to leave? Like all they just are like, you're not the only ones
Yeah,
who want adventure. Or
They
whatever like
hint
that.
at the fact that she just wants to leave for adventure, and then by the time they ever try to give her enough time to express that, it's become because I want. I don't. I'm trying to keep this family friendly, but like the bottom line is, she just wants Tulio. Like they just want each other now, and it's like, but why though? Like that just becomes all she is. And not that she was much before, but at least there was a hint of like she wants to go explore. Now it's just like, oh, Tulio, don't you want me to come with you, baby? Yeah, you like that one. And it's like, gosh.
oh boy.
It's just
I'm not openly telling people they should do this, but we did a brief just YouTube The Road to El Dorado. That's all we did. The very first result that came up.
it's not
It's
necessarily
not
kid
family friendly.
No, yeah, it is not. And I think they make her really like unnecessarily sexy. Like they make her. She's just like the Jessica Rabbit of this movie, basically,
Yeah.
right? Like it's just, but except instead of being a joke like Jessica Rabbit's supposed to be, she like, it's really weird because like the way she's using her like sensual appearance seems bad. Like it just seems like she's using it like a villain character would. But it's okay.
Yeah,
I don't know
she's
why.
using it for her own gain.
Yeah,
That's
she's
why.
just using it to get out, and
Yeah.
you're supposed to just assume that now it's because she really likes Tulio. Like, who is Tulio? Like, why does she like him? He doesn't even trust her. He doesn't want her like with them because of that. Like, there's just one scene where she's like, "Yeah, I want to get with you," and she tricks Miguel into leaving, and like that's it. That's what she wanted.
And then we're also to assume that like, is it probably safe to assume that she's like not a favored person in this whole community?
Well, she's running away from them when she steals like basically a religious object that's made of gold for reasons that are never explained, and she's running away. Like if she just wanted to leave, she could have just left. I guess there's an implication that she understands that it's valuable, and so she's gonna use it to like fund her escape. But even that is like far fetched. Like you gotta really stretch your like your disbelief. Like you gotta really ignore some stuff to just assume that's what's going on.
And then there's like the part that like really was just like confusing me a little bit was like, then you know she obviously knows their secret, or she can see through their secret, Tulio and Julio's.
Yeah.
And like she's like, oh, I can use this to my advantage now. Like, you know, you're gonna need to know some things. Do you
Yeah,
know
sure.
this ritual, whatever like that? So then you're just kind of like, okay, she's gonna be that character. Like maybe they need somebody in the inside, whatever like that. But the whole time they're both just like, no. Well,
Well, it's
no.
Tulio specifically, and there's no reason for it.
No.
Like, I guess it's supposed to just emphasize his sort of paranoia, which kind of becomes relevant later on, you know? But it just doesn't, like, they're aware that they, like, can't pull this. Like, he's the character who, like, a scene ago was telling Miguel, like, what are you doing? Like, we can't pull this off. And then it's like, no, we're fine. We don't need you, hun, baby. I guess it's just supposed to be because he's greedy and he doesn't want to cut somebody in, like, but I don't know, man.
But that's, I mean, if that was the case, that's not how he comes off, though. Not really. He comes off as somebody who's just trying to save his own skin, at least in this instance.
Yeah.
And they're just like, no.
I don't know.
That really bothered me.
Yeah.
Really, really, really bothered me. So, okay. Is that it before the big one?
Well, no. Well, I think we need to touch on the beginning of this movie is paced really weird.
Oh, yeah.
It's really fast. Like everything just sort of happens. And I think the biggest thing that suffers because of this is like you wind up, you're just like, who are these numbskulls? Why do I care about them? I don't care about their plight. They're not likable. The first scene is them cheating a bunch of dudes with loaded dice. Like, are we just supposed to like them because they're charming? Like, they're like the charming rogues. And it's like, okay, like, but they just don't pull it off well enough.
No,
like,
it's like, how am I...
Tulio comes close. He comes close, but Miguel is just like the bumbling sidekick. I don't know.
Well, the thing that's endearing about Miguel is that, like, because he, like, really, really enjoys the life in El Dorado, and it's just sort of like, even if I'm not having to be the god of this place,
Well,
like,
yeah,
it's still, like, a beautiful place.
Eventually that becomes him. Comes out of nowhere, by the way, because before that he's just like, as far as I'm concerned, he's just kind of a characterless husk. Like, he's just there to foil
he's the one
Tulio.
that he's the one that convinces them to actually like find El Dorado, though, because he's sort of like starry-eyed and like wants to have the adventure.
Yeah, I guess, but it's so weird. This movie goes back and forth between like. At the end, you're like made to feel, because that's how it starts, is like Miguel's starry-eyed and he wants the adventure, and that's like how the movie ends. Like, adventure is worth more than gold. Also, this hot girl you got, but ignore that part. Adventure. And it's like, okay, fine. Like, but through most of the rest of the movie, it's like Tulio saving Miguel's butt. You know, like
Yeah.
Miguel is like completely incompetent, and maybe that's just like, oh, see, back and forth, they need each other, but it never really like communicates itself well. You know. Oh my gosh, I just remembered the volcano scene. Why? Where they just need to figure out how to become a god, and there's this gag where the volcano is like going off, and then it just doesn't, and like re-inhales all its smoke. Like, what? It's so, there are these gags that are so out of left field, and it's like they're trying to be random, but it just doesn't work. I don't know if it's the timing or the fact that it doesn't do it enough. It's not an established enough pattern. It happens like a few times.
Yeah.
And it always just comes out of nowhere. I won't even say left field, because like you can have humor where things come out of left field and it's funny. It just comes out of absolutely nowhere. It doesn't set that up as this being. It goes back and forth from trying to be sort of realistic with how they're animating their faces, where like Tulio especially is very like, he's very controlled. All of his expressions seem like they could be real. And then like some of the characters like Chell's expressions are just really cartoony sometimes. And it's not consistent. And so there's that joke. There's the Buenos Dias. Is that what he says?
Yeah. There's a line where like they're both talking to each other, Tulio and Julio, and they're like, oh, like, you know, there's some tension between the chief and the high priest, huh? And then what does Tulio say?
Buenos Dias.
He just says Buenos Dias, like he like as if he was supposed to say like duh.
Look, Francisco, if you're listening, you speak Spanish natively. You tell me if that's a Spanish like euphemism, all right? If that's like a colloquial thing that means duh, all right, you let me know and I will write it in the show notes, all right? And we will apologize for it. But unless that is the case, unacceptable.
There's also, I mean, like maybe it's also supposed to be like hello or something like that. Except, you know, the hola. I don't know.
That would have been better, and that still would have been bad.
That still would have been dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that. You know, because like when you take a movie like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which we're gonna have to talk about eventually, the humor in there is very stylized and also pretty unique, right?
It's very intentional and it's very consistent.
That's what I'm trying to say. Is that like even though it is like very very unique, it's individual.
It's supposed to feel kind of random. Everything's supposed to be a surprise,
but they're consistent with it.
Yes, and they're more clever in general. But in this example, we just want to say they were more consistent. You knew going through it wasn't ever jarring. It was just funny.
There's also like the scene where like both of them scream like a girl, but like they use like the most overused stock like women screams they possibly could. But that again was just completely from left field.
It's supposed to be. It's this spot where there's like this tension between them, and then there's the immediate tension of the frigging jaguar monster going to kill everybody.
Javatar.
Okay, whatever. And they just keep playing the Javatar off as like not threatening. First with the scream, and then with Jim Cummings #4 getting like thrown around and stomped. It's like, I'm okay. It's like, well then why do we care about this dang Jaggy thing? If freaking like it doesn't matter if he steps on you.
For the record, Jim Cummings is a very, very, very prominent voice actor. You've definitely heard him at least one or two roles.
And he voices like 4 people in this movie.
Of the same like voice variety too.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, so
they probably told him like, no, you're just gonna be one character, so he never changed his voice, and they're like, we'll just use that for like all these different characters.
Hey, can you read this one too?
I mean, do you want to use the voice?
I love you. Oh, wait a minute. Is this
that's great. That's great. Keep it up.
Okay.
Well, you guys are buying lunch. I mean,
so there's that humor bad.
All right, let's just do it.
Alrighty,
start it.
Here we go. So, I mean, I guess this is gonna be a little similar to my Tarzan rants.
To go back a little bit, Saul is right. For the most part, the integration in this movie is going for more of the Tarzan style, but it does it worse. And there's also one other thing.
Straight up, it just does it worse.
It just does it worse.
So, like we said before, like at the start of this, the musical team behind this was the primary songwriters being Elton John on the music and Tim Rice on the lyrics, and Hans Zimmer as the primary score writer. From what I read, and this is at least just on Wikipedia, that like they were working on Dave, I don't know if you knew this, they were working on the songs of this like as early as 1996. This was a 4-year process.
Yeah, that means they wrote one song, forgot about it, and then 2 months before the movie's like, I was supposed to finish. Okay, we've been working on this 4 years, guys. That's the story, because it's true. We started this one, now we got to finish it. That's what it is.
Okay, so let's talk about the songs that we hear in the movie, and that's gonna be hard enough.
That's gonna be really. Do you have a list of them?
No,
Man, I hope you. Oh gosh, we're screwed.
Well, because like even the soundtrack seemed to lie to us.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get on with this. Okay? So music, songs, done. Elton John, First one we hear is the El Dorado theme,
Yeah.
which is weird.
Starts straight off like from the Dreamworks logo.
Yeah.
It's a little. It just seems weird.
And
Doesn't seem to
it
fit.
just sounds really hokey too, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
it sounds like King's Quest number 9. You know what I mean? Like that the game doesn't exist, but like a bad
yet.
like an early PC like kingly game, you know?
It's weird.
And he says El Dorado at least 5 times. Yeah. The next song is Trail Blaze, which
Yes.
like I can't say okay. I made this distinction when we were watching the movie and we were listening to these songs, and Dave thought it was pretty good. The lyrics and just like the way that it's sung and virtually all the songs are very sticky.
Yeah.
It's very like
Yeah, and they're all. It's not like each one of those is its own word, so it's memorable. They're all these really long words. Like they use all these like 4-syllable words that are like broken up not well the way the music is written, so where it's just not memorable at all, and all the rhyming structure is really weird and not intuitive. Like we were listening to one song, I don't remember which one it was.
Of course, I don't remember what it is.
I was like, all right, listen to when this word rhymes. Like when the word that rhymes with this one comes, we're like, no, it wasn't that one. No, it wasn't that one. No, it wasn't that one. Okay, there it was. Wait, what were the rhymes? I've already forgotten what the other rhymes were. You forget all that because it's not. There's no. The best way I could think of it is there's no poetry to it. It's like they were just like, all right, what are we saying here? What do we think we would say? This is what we would say. All right, put it to music. Done. Great. Good job. That's it. That's what it felt like the whole way through.
And even then, sometimes they were like really sort of off base. Like Trail We Blaze was about Blaze and Trail, I guess. But then like there's some other songs that I don't even know what the names were that had nothing to do with the scene. They were like generic love songs.
The scene where like Miguel is walking around the city and he's learning to like really enjoy El Dorado and his people is a freaking love song. Like that's meant to be like between two people or something, and it's just they just play it while he's doing that. There's absolutely no, at least with most of them, it's Randy Newman level, and we'll get back to that. It's Randy Newman level of, this is what's happening in this scene. We're not going to say it poetically. We're just going to say it. There's music. It's a song. That's all you get. But sometimes they don't even connect with the scene.
And that's just the double whammy, because like if the lyrics aren't memorable and the music isn't memorable, then what do you have? It's filler in the worst possible way.
It's just noise.
It's just noise.
And the thing you pointed out, one reason the music isn't memorable is they never go back to the hooks.
They rarely ever go back to the hooks. I can remember just on the trail we blaze. Like I can remember that.
Yeah.
I can remember it's to be a god.
And the hooks are really short.
Yeah.
And then they go back into like gobbledygook. Like that's the best way to say it. And
I can think of 3 hooks. 4 if you count the 2-word El Dorado.
El Dorado.
So Trail We Blaze, Tough to Be a God, and Friend Never Say Goodbye.
Completely forgot about that song.
Never say goodbye.
Gosh, that song is inappropriate there. It just, gosh, it just doesn't work.
And I believe that hook is only done like once or maybe twice. It's like,
I mean, that's it. They usually happen twice. And like the songs are like, they feel long. I don't know if it's just because they're bad and boring, but they feel long. And like, it just doesn't work. Like, it's tough to be a god. That one line is like catchy. You get that part. Even like the Trail We Blaze, it's like on the trail we blaze. Like that's fun to say. Even if you're just like making fun of it a little bit, it's fun. But they never go back to that. It's just like you've gotta wait. You've gotta wait for Elton John to get all his big $5 words out of the way so you can get back to the one hook that's like kind of okay. I don't know. That's basically it, I think. I mean, like the score is also highly unremarkable. There are some moments where it's like, I'm not sure if you're trying to sound African. Are you trying to sound Asian? Like it keeps coming back to this sort of Spanish vibe sometimes, but you only spend like 5 minutes in Spain. Like this is not like a Spanish, like it's not a movie that takes place in Spanish culture. It takes place in like the wilds of Cuba. Like I don't remember any part of it ever sticking out to you is like, oh, this is cool. They try to do like some Native American sounding thing, you know? I never got that. Like at best, it was like they threw some mariachi trumpet at the end of their pop song,
or just like or like I think no. At the end of Trail We Blaze, like instead of ending the way like it starts, it ends. Yeah. It ends with the like okay, all right, we're Spanish now
again. I guess
again,
like,
or we're Spanish again.
I mean, and that's a little bit of like, yes, obviously they're Spanish, so you'll be like, oh, but they are Spanish, so it makes sense. But not when it's not a consistent theme.
No,
you can't just throw it around and be like, oh, remember we're Spanish. Oh, remember we're Spanish. It's the same thing with the Buenos Dias joke. Like they only say like 4 things in Spanish in the whole movie. They're all really spaced out, and they're all super generic stuff because the guys voicing these doofuses are just white, just like generic white fellows, you know?
Oh man, they totally are.
They are.
Buenos dias. Don't get don't get your tortilla in a bunch.
I don't think they said that, but they should.
No, but I mean, come on. That was totally like on the writing floor.
Yeah, that's like, man, I can't believe we had to cut out the tortilla joke.
Oh, carne asada.
What can you say? Like, yeah, they should have put that one in. It's better than what they went to put in the first place.
Chell's name originally was Margarita or something.
Oh my gosh, can we talk about the Chiefs' random descent into like Speedy Gonzalez? Where he's a glorious day for El Dorado.
So okay,
it's like out of nowhere.
You might not.
The rest of the movie, he's talking like completely like normal dude. Which why do these random people speak English or Spanish or whatever it is Miguel and Tulio understand? Why is that? Like,
you might not know who that voice actor is, Dave.
No,
that's Edward James Olmos, who's like he is like not his most known role, but the role I know him as is Selena's dad from the movie Selena. So like he's Hispanic.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm sure that's why he's there.
I guess.
But yeah, the whole time he spends talking in a perfectly American accent, not trying to like have any affectations or anything. And then all of a sudden, oh, what a glorious day for El Dorado. Like, I mean, that's not the worst thing this movie has to offer, but we were just kind of like, what is happening? Why did this happen? Not even Cortez.
No.
Cortez doesn't even have any semblance.
Voiced by Jim Cummings, by the way.
Voiced by Jim Cummings. There we are. Full circle. Any semblance of like a Spanish accent. And you can't get more Spanish than Hernando Cortez. This movie is just a mess, man. This movie is just a mess. How do people defend this movie so much?
It's just nostalgia. So everybody I've talked to about this movie is like, yeah, I remember watching it in theaters. And like, they remember the gags. I was talking to my wife about this. It's like, why do you think people like this movie? Because she has fond memories of it. I won't say that she likes it in the way that like most of the other people I know do. Where they're like, yeah, I defend that movie. Like Francisco and Jeremy are like legitimately fans. Like, you know? And like, my wife is more, you know, like, I remember watching. I remember having fun. And she pointed out a few things. One was it's nostalgia, obviously.
Yeah.
2 was that
I definitely know that
this movie tends to try to be a little bit more adult. We kind of talked about it a little bit with Chell. Chell is more for the adults. There's some humor in here that's a little bit more supposed to be for the adults. There's some parts where Tulio and Miguel are talking like really fast. Like it's fast talking, and I don't like it because it makes it really hard to follow, but it gives this sort of feeling like, oh, this is for the adults. Like the kids won't get this joke. I mean, nobody gets the jokes because they're terrible. But like,
but she was PG talking about rating too. Also, like how
they swore. They did a swear.
They did,
and that was it. Just one. Very tame, but they did a swear.
The forced PG. That's what that is. You know?
And that's what she was like. You know, it made me feel more adult. Like I was like, yeah, I'm growing up. So like. I feel like the people who saw this were probably like in that transitional phase, right? Where they're like, I don't want to see a kids movie, but El Dorado, that's edgy. Like, kind of, you know?
I mean, Emperor's New Groove came out the same year. And there was nothing. Well, I mean, there was nothing edgy about Emperor's New Groove.
That's because this is like, this is Genesis does what Nintendo don't, right? This is Dreamworks does what Disney. Like that's what it's. I think that's what it's going for. You know,
Like they're
And
trying to be the more adult animation
yeah, they're trying to be the more
studio.
edgy animation studio.
Yeah.
And this kind of wound up accumulating in Shrek a little bit, but Shrek like did it right, you know?
Yeah.
They just went all in, whereas this one was like, we're just gonna throw them in randomly and like, yeah, it's adult, see? Like, ooh, like
Ooh.
so I don't know. Like that's pretty much all I got, you know? Like I don't really know.
I don't really know. Like I don't understand necessarily why people can defend this movie. Like I mean, like it's gonna be years and years until I watch this movie again. But
I hope so.
But Dave and I like had a lot of fun watching it because of the badness that we found, you know?
Absolutely.
We were goofing on it so much, like it barely had any will to live by the end of the movie. Like,
come on, guys.
yeah,
I'm trying my
not that
hardest.
bad. Didn't you guys watch Tarzan?
Still better. Much better than this.
Yeah, and like, I don't that's one thing I don't understand how, like, because when that came out, I was how old
Came
was
out in
I?
2000, so are we the same age? I would
Yeah.
have been 11.
We're the same age, so I guess 11.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't looking for edgy humor. I mean, like, and so maybe they weren't looking at me as the demographic, but like, I don't
know.
even
Francisco and Jeremy are the same age.
I don't always
know.
consider the humor of this edgy either. I just think it's bad and forced. Like,
I mean,
I think Prince of Egypt is PG, but not because they forced it. I think because it was
a PG because this was kind of the spooky scene.
yeah, it
where
was like
pretty
it
intense.
was intense enough for
Yeah.
it to warrant PG. This one they had to
Yeah.
force it, you know?
Yeah, with like Voodoo McVooderson having
Voodoo
his, like,
McVooderson and
doing his
Chell
dark magic.
and the swear. Like, it's just all forced, and like forced anything isn't good unless you're a Jedi.
Hey. The only other thing I can think of is like the background animation, where if you look at the characters in the background, you will catch some 1,000-yard stares.
They got really lazy. I think Dave and I
There's a
got.
scene
I think
with-
Dave and I, or like specifically me, I got bored enough of like the main characters in the foreground. And I just started looking at some of these characters in the background, and man, these animators got a little lazy. It's just a character kind of like, I'm really sick. You know what? This frame is fine.
Doesn't it? There's a scene where Batty McVooderson is talking about sacrificing people or whatever, and the chief's just on the left in the background.
He's not even looking at Batty McPatterson.
No, he's just looking in the distance. And he never blinks. He never moves. Like for a solid 10 seconds, he's just man, I wonder what's going on in his head right now. It's like, oh man, I really miss my wife.
Oh, I really wish I was smoking my stogie right now.
She really would have enjoyed that party last night. I'm supposed to be here. Oh yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, he's saying some bad things.
Official function.
Oh, maybe I should have been paying attention.
You lost me. I'm dying. That scene when you paused that and pointed it out, I could not handle it.
Because I just. Oh my gosh, we totally lost it.
There were like two other ones too, weren't there?
I've broken my co-host, you guys. Like I said, I was so bored with it just going on in the foreground that I was just like, wait, hold on. And I would like rewind and then just pause it. And then just like stay on this frame. And then I would push play. And then for like another half a minute, it would just stay there.
Oh no.
Oh man. And I guess you have to watch the movie to understand like what we're talking about. But like, I think when you see it, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, that's the part. That's the part.
We're gonna take a picture of it. That's gonna be, you know how normally YouTube you see our glorious animated faces? No, this time we're just gonna see this chief staring in the distance for an hour, however long we managed to keep this going. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So this rant has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
I think this was back, like, I guess on your inaugural viewing
Yeah.
when we were on a tour bus watching it. I mean, like, what happened that day? We were having a big old making fun of Randy Newman marathon that day, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Why was it? Oh, because you know what? I was complaining about the music.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, because I had already known that like this music is not that great, but like
It's not. Did you want to say not that great? It's bad.
okay. Back then I was a little bit less paying attention-y, I guess.
You're a better.
It was a better time.
Yeah.
It wasn't so woke. Anyways, and so we were making fun of it, and then saying like, oh, like what if Randy Newman like did the music for this, and like making up like, you know, cheesy songs that like Randy Newman would have done for it, like if he ended up like on the soundtrack.
El Dorado, we're gonna make some money.
As fate would have it. We were after we watched the movie, I was like, okay, I need to look up the soundtrack and see like what the names of these just ludicrous songs were.
Yeah.
And what do I find under It's Tough to Be a God, but a subtitle duet with Randy Newman. He is actually on the soundtrack of this movie.
Yeah, singing it alongside Elton John.
And so I stopped everything. We were having a conversation about something else. I was like, Dave, hold on. Well, I was like, Randy Newman's on this soundtrack?
It was unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
And it absolutely is true. I'm sure you can search it up on YouTube in a snap, but the soundtrack version.
Watch out for that first video, though.
Oh, boy. The soundtrack version of the song It's Tough to Be a God is a much different version from the movie, not just because of the singers, but it's much different.
Yeah.
And it is a duet of Elton John and
random.
Sir Randall Newman.
I hope he's not a sir.
He's not. He's American.
Have Americans? Whatever, it doesn't matter.
And it is what you think. It's tough to be a god.
The soundtrack itself is just a mess in how it's presented too. We were looking at it and we're like, what is this? Like 16th century man, like what is? And it's not just score. It's a song Elton John actually wrote and is singing, but just for the soundtrack. And like half of the soundtrack is that, isn't it?
I think so. Either that or I really just don't remember those songs.
I mean, we just randomly picked out like 3 of them, and all 3 of them were songs we had never heard before.
We went through all those songs. We went through all the songs. We skimmed through every single one of those songs on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
We only recognized maybe like 3 or 4 of them. Was it that bad? Like,
that makes me wonder about the like development process of this movie. Why would they have him write that many songs with lyrics that like they seem to be sort of related to the movie? Like 16th century man, like, oh, it's in the 1500s. Ha ha ha. Like that seems like it was written to have a part in this movie. But it's not. If it was like one song, you'd be like, all right, got left on the cutting room floor. Just didn't have time for this fantastic song to make it. If it was 2 even, like, maybe. That's you're pushing it. Like, you're pushing believability, but maybe. But there's like 3 or 4. And you're just like, did they just have him write a bunch of songs, send them in, and then they're like, all right, let's pick which ones actually have something to do with the movie. All right, we can work this one in. Let's go with this one. Like, it makes me wonder if that's what they did, if it was just that disconnected. Because we know this music team can do a good job. We know that for a fact.
We know
they did it just like 4 or 5 years earlier or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is just a complete train wreck. And so you have to wonder, like, was the direction like that much worse? Like, did Elton John just really not care? Like, I don't know.
Mystery.
And it's not just him. It's like the lyric writer too. The lyrics might be worse than the music, in my opinion, because it's so,
a toss-up, man.
It's so egregious to me that they couldn't make anything they're saying either memorable or just. You don't listen to any of it. It's just like happening in the background.
Yeah.
And you were commenting, you're like, oh, it feels like there's too much going on for you to like really remember what it is. But like, was it really that much more than Tarzan? Like, I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think it was either. But
like, we're talking about
saying,
specifically the montage when Trailway Blaze comes on,
or like
there's
any
like
of them,
there's like little vignettes where like they're skinny dipping and like monkeys steal their clothes.
PG, we did it.
There's like also like the common like let's go this way, and then they end up walking in a circle or something like. And this is all the while Trailway Blaze is going on, and like we were trying to focus on both, but we couldn't. Like. Yeah. You know, the animation was at most times more interesting than what was going on, even though they were cliched as all get out.
Yeah.
And like, but then we would try to follow along on the lyrics, and we're just sort of like tuning out.
Yeah.
Because we just couldn't follow along, and the music wasn't allowing us to until they got to Trailway Blaze, which they do 2 times in that whole sequence right there.
Like none of the other musical progressions are memorable.
No.
Or like fun. It's just talk singing over some chords.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just what it feels like. And like, look, we talked about this before. I don't remember the music, like the lyrics to Tarzan that much. I had this conversation with my wife, and it's just like, you don't remember them that much, but like I feel like if I just listened to the song like a little better, like I could. So maybe those scenes were still a little too busy to really get into the, you know, the lyrics, but I just don't think I could for this one. I don't think I could ever will myself to to learn any of the lyrics.
Certainly not after this podcast episode, man.
Man, how long have we been going?
Oh, I don't know.
I feel like this has just been the fastest thing because we just completely blazed through
I know.
all of our grievances with just no regard for.
I mean, I think we're like at least on the 50 minute mark or something like that.
I mean, what else?
Well,
what
it's
else
like 2
is
hours
there?
now.
Could we goof on anything else? Like, man,
there's just so much to goof on.
I mean, you never get the Chief's name. His motives are really weird.
We
do.
do. I just
Well,
it's so
what I know.
I just can't remember it.
His motives are really weird. Like he realizes that they're human before anybody else, and like he just goes along with it, and it's not clear why. I guess it's just because he's a big, goofy, nice guy. Like
we sort of like had to infer that like, oh, I mean, like them being the gods here in El Dorado like has united the people, and like they're all having fun and having festivals and whatnot. So maybe he sees as the chief that this is good for his people, and so he's not going to blow their cover.
Maybe,
but we have to say maybe because there is no other inference of that.
Yeah,
they make it pretty clear that he knows that they're human, but there's nothing in it for him in there.
It doesn't seem like it.
No,
except maybe for the fact by the time that it's clear that he knows they're human, like they've already sort of pushed off evil McBatterton to the side, and because it's obvious that he wants to like take power from the chief or just have him offed, sacrificed, or whatever for reasons that are unknown to us. I don't know why this guy hates humanity so much. Like anti-religion. I don't know. Is that what this movie's going for? Like, shoot, don't ask me. Like, I ain't got a clue. But yeah, it's weird. And I guess we could talk about how Cortez at the end felt really awkward. Where you're like, oh, they beat the big bad, the Jaguarton, yay!
Yeah,
and then it's like, oh, Spaniards.
Like, I guess I'm okay with.
Cortez only has like one face, by the way, too.
Yeah, it's always just murr.
Yeah.
I guess I'm like, because there was also a part where they were doing something in El Dorado, and then it did like some really like jump cut to Cortez and his troops like landing at like the beach and stuff, and I remember Dave was just sort of like, whoa, like wait a minute, but I was like, no, I kind of get it because he shows up in the end. That much I knew, but did he need to show up at all? Like, I don't think so.
Know.
There's a big.
They could have just had them make up after the Jaguar thing, you know. Like, because they had it out, they fought, and they, like, yelled at each other. Because that's the thing, right, is that red shirt decides he wants to stay behind, and blue shirt's like, no, I want to get out of here with my fat loot and my hot grill, and, like, let's go home. I got it all, man. And, like, that's the conflict, and they get mad at each other. Ooh, like, and, like, red shirt gets mad at blue shirt because he's making out with Chell, which was, like, off limits. But it's, like... it's not even clear like why he even cares that much because it's not like he showed any interest in her past that. Like he's such a goofy happy-go-lucky guy. It doesn't seem like, and there's nothing to the romance between Chell and Blue Shirt. If you're wondering, there's absolutely nothing. Doesn't make any sense other than hot girl. And I don't know why she's interested in him. Like she's way out of his league, but whatever.
And he's clearly just like a slimy con man. Like
yeah, like I guess it's supposed to be like. We were like, why are we cheering for these guys? It's supposed to be they start out slimy con man and then they wind up, you know, he winds up really caring about this girl, or the other guy winds up really caring about the people, and then the other guy like kind of winds up caring about the people too because he sacrifices gold or whatever. It just doesn't work. There's not enough to the relationship with the girl to like redeem Tulio and Miguel. Like he was never dislikable in the first place because it always felt like he was just sort of along for the ride. So I don't know.
Man, I'm getting exhausted.
I think we better end it. I don't know how long this is. Maybe it's for the best as a shorter episode, or maybe we'll get out of here and we'll be like, wow, that was the greatest 3 hours of my life bashing on that movie.
So there you have it, folks. We finally get that out there. I think we've referenced El Dorado once or twice before.
We've referenced it like in every movie cast we've done, I think.
Really?
It's like Frozen level. Like we could never avoid mentioning this movie.
I mean, I remember mentioning it in Tarzan.
We mentioned it in Disney Renaissance.
We did, when? Why? How?
Because remember, I was like, if they released one good movie and then they released 5 Road to El Dorados, it would be terrible. And that was after we made some other joke too. I'm 100% sure of that. Maybe we didn't reference it in Moana. I don't remember.
Either way, we've referenced it quite a bit. Enough that I know that our hundreds of fans of listeners have like said like, oh, but I like El Dorado.
Well, you're wrong. We're here to help you. We love you guys, but you are broken. That's okay. We're all a little messed up inside, but we love you anyway, especially for listening. So thanks everybody for listening.
And you're welcome for being told the truth.
Yeah.
Oh man. Please keep listening. At least I hope at least I hope anybody listening to this found enjoyment in two grown farts just taking an animated movie from 2000 a little too seriously.
17 years ago, and we dug it back up from the grave just to smack it around a little bit more.
So hopefully you found some entertainment in this. We certainly have more of these movies we could do.
I think we'll need to. Man, I think we'll need to. That was way too much fun.
Okay.
Gosh.
Oh man, do you want to watch some Muppet Treasure Island?
I do.
All right, let's do that.
Great.
All right, so on behalf of my co-host and myself, thank you all so much for listening. Hopefully we didn't offend you too much, but in the end, it's just a movie. Get over it, and our opinions are right and yours aren't. Thank you very much to Danny Barry Hubert for the wonderful artwork. Special thanks to OC Remix, Rob KTA, Expert Novice, for our wonderful music. Please follow us on social media. You can even follow each of us on Twitter, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, we might not actually do anything on it, but you know, we're
there.
We're there, so there's there.
Yeah.
Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy what you're listening to here on YouTube, or if you're just listening to us on iTunes, please drop us an iTunes review. It really helps us out.
Yep, we're looking to get on more platforms too. We submitted to be on TuneIn. We're looking into Stitcher. We're in places, and we have our Facebook page too, and it helps us out if you like that too. So.
We are doing our best to offend everybody out there.
Everybody we can find.
With our overly strong opinions on nostalgia.
On dumb movies.
So, please, I genuinely do hope that you will catch us again in the next episode, and we'll hope to see you there.
We appreciate you all. Take care.